Hi everyone, welcome to Jinjin Show. I'm Minjin.
I'm Seojin.
We are at the ABC broadcasting station and our podcast starts every Wednesday at 4 p.m. Today we are going to talk about network fee conflict.
Due to COVID-19, movie theater sales have decreased and the number of users of online video services like Netflix, Disney Plus, Watcha has increased. Especially Netflix has increased by 104% year on year. According to application analysis company WhatsApp, South Korea's monthly payment amount for Netflix reached a record high of 51.4 billion won in October last year. As the number of service types and users increases explosively, there are some problems between internet service providers and content providers.
Netflix insists it is not obliged to pay network fees. Netflix rather says that SK Broadband, which calls for payment of network fees, violates the network neutrality principle. Then, what is the network neutrality principle? Network neutrality prevents carriers from blocking, delaying, or preferentially processing legitimate traffic flowing into the network. This is aimed at enhancing users' information access and promoting the growth of the internet and content industry and the promotion of users' welfare. Netflix keep insisting that content transmission in the internet world is free of charge. Netflix also supports their claim by saying that it is not Netflix but SK Broadband subscribers who use the network service. Seojin, can you explain the position of SK Broadband now?
Okay, let's take a look at SK Broadband's viewpoint. SK Broadband is one of South Korean network providers. They argue that Netflix should pay for using the network because Netflix is directly connected to their internet. A week ago, a South Korean court agreed with SK Broadband in a lawsuit over the network fees. The court judged that Netflix was provided with SK Broadband's paid role in connecting and maintaining its connection to the internet network. There are not only this legal consequence but also other critical reasons. The situation has become serious because Netflix has increased traffic. It repeatedly increased from 50 Gbps in 2018 to 600 Gbps in June of last year. Based on the money, it is estimated to be 27.2 billion won last year. In addition, Netflix once paid for network fee in the United States and France.
We have heard the positions of Netflix and SK Broadband respectively. Next, let's listen to the Jinjin Show host's opinions on network usage fees. First of all, I, Minjin, object to the position that content producers must charge the network usage fees. Those who need to charge the network fees argue that charging network fees has already become the standard in developed countries. However, we have to look at it from a new perspective because the views on internet networks in developed countries and Korea are different. Developed countries concluded that the information service were private property of telecommunications companies. Therefore, paying for the network usage fees has already become the normal in developed countries. On the other hand, South Korea treats the internet as a public service. Accordingly, requiring network fees for only a specific services violates the principle of network neutrality. Also, paying for the network usage will put the burden on consumers because the consumers have to pay a higher prices to use the contents. We interviewed a college student, Irene, who love global video contents such as Netflix and Disney+.
If the payment of network fee is made to content companies like Netflix, consumers like us will have to pay for content service. But even if the network operators receive this money, they won't cut the price. Therefore, it seems that prices for contents will rise and consumers will be burdened.
That was a Minjin opinion so far. Sejin, what's your opinion?
Well, Minjin, I think content providers should pay network fees to internet service providers. According to data from the Ministry of Science and ICT, Google ranked first, Netflix ranked second, and Facebook ranked third in traffic share in the fourth quarter of last year. South Korean businesses such as Naver and Kakao accounted for only 1% of each business. However, South Korean businesses with low traffic are paying for network fee, which is discriminatory. Traffic can also cause damage to existing businesses that use the network. Also, in 2016, the U.S. Federal Court of Appeals in Washington, D.C., admitted that internet service providers could receive a fee for using the network from content providers. Foreign countries are also upsetting network fees. I asked a student Song for her opinion on the network fee.
I think network neutrality does not mean that content providers can use the internet for free. I read a news article that Netflix is paying network fees to telecommunication companies such as Comcast in the US. I think we should pay the same fee for using the network to Korean telecommunication companies.
We all need to pay a lot of attention to network fees from the consumer's point of view so that the consumers can use the contents with their proper rights. It's not just the business disputes. It's going to have a huge impact on consumers' contents use in the future. If SK Broadband does not receive the network fees, it will increase the consumer's network usage fees. On the contrary, if Netflix loses, the contents usage fees will be increased. In other words, no matter how the ruling is made, consumers will be burdened with the usage of the contents. Therefore, it is important to note that whether the outcome of the trial between the two companies will harm the consumer. Industry insiders says that this judgment will be an important opportunity to establish the order of the domestic internet ecosystem. He says not only the arguments from the both sides, but also the positions of ordinary consumers must be considered to produce the desirable results for all to coexist. We talked today about the recent issue of network fees. It's a business-to-business issue, but we should keep that the consequences affect our consumers in mind.
We should never overlook this issue and continue to pay attention. I was so happy to have a podcast today and see you next Wednesday. Bye.
Bye.